Right now, great focus is on the fragile health of Pope Francis. We're going to examine his medical condition with a local doctor. Also, we reflect on the case of AHMAUD Arbery, 5 years since his murder, with a current defense lawyer and former assistant district attorney. And lawmakers under the Gold Dome are looking to give people more power back to fight against unfair homeowners associations. This is The Take. Hello and welcome. I'm Chesley McNeil, and this is The Take, where we go above and beyond the headlines and look at the why and how stories are impacting you and your community. We start today with the health of Pope Francis. Here's what we know. The latest word from NBC News is Vatican sources saying Pope Francis woke up today in good spirits. Overnight, the Vatican put out a one-line statement simply saying that last night passed well and that Francis is resting. The Vatican also says that blood tests have shown the development of what's being called a early slight kidney insufficiency. This is the 10th day of hospitalization for the 88-year-old pontiff being treated for a complex lung infection and remains in critical condition this morning. Let's get more now of a detailed medical examination from Dr. Jade Moore-Ruffin, a family medical doctor with Emory Decatur Hospital. Welcome to the show, Dr. Moore-Ruffin.
Thank you so much for having me, Chelsea.
All right. So when you hear about, we've all heard that he has pneumonia in both lungs, and then a test of early stages of kidney insufficiency. Give us your take on how you feel about that.
So first of all, pneumonia in both lungs, double pneumonia, means that there's a slightly higher complication potential. So having clinical symptoms of respiratory distress can lead to other things that require more attention once in the hospital. A lot of times things like renal insufficiency can occur as a result of some of the medications or treatments or IV fluids. So it may not necessarily mean that that was a pre-existing condition.
Could there be something else, you think, leading to this? Or we know that there's limited information that goes out. And so
I'll tell you, first of all, with double pneumonia, that is not uncommon in this age group. And to have pneumonia, there are probably over 1 million hospitalizations annually in the U.S. alone for those that are over the age of 65. So when we see this hospitalization experience, sometimes that can mean that there will be complications. And we just need to make sure that the treatment plan is accurately occurring. And that sounds like what they're doing. Sounds like he's in good spirits and starting to recover. I know there is a concern of sepsis, and what that means is having infection in the bloodstream. Yeah. So now the infection has gone from the lungs and starting to get into the bloodstream, and that can be a very serious condition.
You touched on his age a little bit earlier. He's 88 years old. How much of that will play a role in his treatments going forward and so forth?
That plays a big role because we know in that age group, in the elderly, that the immune system is weaker. There may be already pre-existing conditions like underlying lung problems, like underlying kidney problems. So there is a higher rate of complications, and that is significant in that age group, especially if they have not been vaccinated or have other underlying issues that need to be treated.
They're saying that he needs to be treated because he may be facing sepsis. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So yes, sepsis again, with pneumonia, that means people often forget we have two lungs, there's a pair. So with pneumonia, very commonly, it is only in one lung. In his case, it's in both lungs. That increases the amount of infection that's in the body. It increases the need for medications. And sometimes that can be so significant that it leaks into the bloodstream. And so sepsis is a blood infection and can be very, very serious and is a complication that we often want to make sure can be overcome with antibiotics so that the person can recover safely.
What do you think the next steps will be for him?
I think the next step sounds like it'll be continuing the oxygen support, continuing and what I would believe to be antibiotics, some anti-inflammatories, some IV fluids, things that will help him to slowly recover. And in this age group, you definitely have to be ginger with their care. Sometimes overdoing it can lead to other problems. So I expect from the sounds of things after 10 days of hospitalization, which would not be uncommon, that he will slowly recover, and that is certainly my prayer.
Yeah, we're hoping for that, right? Yeah, he comes back, you know, right. 88. Seems to be a fighter, so yeah, hopefully he will come back.
Yes.
All right, Dr. Jade Moore-Ruffin, really appreciate you from Emory Decatur Hospital. Thank you for being on the show today and giving us that insight.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care now. All right, in other headlines that we are tackling this morning, a shooting at a Cobb County entertainment venue leaves 2 people wounded. This was inside the main event off of Cobb Parkway. Police say when they arrived, they found 2 people shot inside, and there was no suspect on the scene. Right now, we do not know the conditions of the victims. Police are still looking for a suspect. All right. In other news, Georgia lawmakers are tackling the growing safety concerns over in the state's booming warehouse industry. They will consider a bill that will address what employees describe as unsafe conditions in warehouse, driven by rapid expansion of companies like Amazon and Walmart. All right, let's take a look at our forecast for today and some good news as far as the forecast goes. You remember last week we were in the freezer, folks. It was so cold on the outside. But now we're starting to warm up a little bit, or mild up, as I like to say. 63 degrees, the afternoon high temperature for today. Now keep in mind, we should be right around 60 for an afternoon high, so we'll be above today. Even higher tomorrow. We're looking at 68 for the high temperature under mostly sunny skies. Best day of the week, or at least my pick for the week, will be Wednesday. We'll hit up to 72 degrees, very comfortable out there. Some of you will start to wear short sleeves. I know you will, but don't get used to that. Got a front that's going to come through the area. That front will bring us about a 20 to 30% chance for some scattered showers to be around on Thursday, and then we cool down behind that front, back down below the average, looking at 58 for the high temperature by the time we get to Friday. Good news is that we rebound quickly as we head into the weekend. We're looking at 68 for the high on Saturday, Sunday, 64. So some good news there, and relatively dry pretty much all week long, so enjoy that, folks. Don't go anywhere. We got much more for you coming up after the break. All right, welcome back to the show. Elon Musk issued an ultimatum to federal employees Saturday. Employees must respond to an email justifying the work they completed this week or resign. Since then, the reaction has been felt nationwide, especially here in Metro Atlanta. Joining us now is NBC's Jay Gray from Washington, D.C. Yeah. Good morning to you, Jay.
Good morning, Chesley. Good to talk.
Hey, before we get to Elon Musk, I do have to ask you this. We've been talking about Pope Francis and his declining health. Have you heard anything from you guys at NBC, heard anything from the Vatican?
We did. We got an update from the Vatican this morning. After 10 nights in the hospital, sources within the Vatican say Pope Francis woke up in, and quoting here, good spirits and is eating normally. He's continuing treatments that have included high-flow oxygen therapy and blood transfusions. Over the weekend, the Pope's condition, as many know, was elevated to critical as he continues to deal with a respiratory crisis brought on by what doctors now are calling double pneumonia. Blood test also showing mild kidney failure, but that, we are told by the Vatican, is under control at this point. The Vatican also saying Francis remains alert and well-oriented.
So some good news there. All right. Let's get back to Elon Musk now, asking federal workers to justify their work. It's been a recent shift from the FBI Director, Kish Patel. Kind of put a pause on this. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because this has been an ongoing process, as you well know, since the second term for President Trump began. There was a weekend email from Musk asking more than 2 million federal employees to list 5 bullet points outlining what they accomplished last week. And Musk adding on social media, failure to respond before midnight tonight will be taken as a resignation. But Patel is telling those at the FBI to tap the brakes on all of that, saying that his employees need to just pause on responding to that email until further notice. And it's really the first pushback we've seen from inside the Trump administration on all of these cuts of government workers.
So there's some other agencies also giving some pushback on this. Do you think that would make an about face on it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the State Department, the National Institutes of Health, Defense Department, NSA, all are among agencies that followed suit with the FBI, either telling employees to hold off or to not reply at all to the proof of performance email. The Bureau of Prisons saying it needs more guidance before advising employees on how to move forward. But I can tell you that the president really kind of doubled down on all of this weekend, saying that he'd actually like to see Elon Musk be more aggressive, his words, in some of these cuts. So, no, it doesn't sound like the White House is ready to pull back on that at all. But it does look like this is starting to come to a head now.
Wow. I mean, and there could be lots of jobs lost, especially if people don't respond to that email. And you said they have until midnight tonight, right, to answer?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. It has to be done before midnight tonight. And so what happens to employees who don't do that? Will they lose their jobs? I think ultimately for a lot of these employees, it's either going to end up with their unions going to court or them going to court personally. And I think we're just hearing the beginning of what's going to be some fallout from that email over the weekend.
All right, Jay, we're going to pay close attention to this. And of course, we'll keep up with you with the very latest on it. Thanks for the update on the Pope as well.
Awesome.
Thank you. All right. Homeowner associations, love them or leave them, right? Lawmakers once again having before them several bills to try to give homeowners more power back if they feel like they're being mistreated or unfairly treated by their board. Senior investigator Rebecca Lindstrom joins us now to talk about what lawmakers are trying to do now. And we've been following this for years. What are you learning now, Rebecca?
Well, you know, I think a lot of homeowners went into this legislative session feeling like their voices were finally being heard. There was a Senate subcommittee that met late last year to study the issue, but so far nothing has come out of that. The House does have a bill, though, that looks at how board elections are conducted, especially in communities where there's a lot of disagreement, and it requires board members to actually live in the neighborhood. This stems from complaints about Airbnbs or absentee landlords, people saying that they have taken control of their board and are not working in the best interest of the residents, but instead of the renters. But that bill has yet to even get a hearing in committee.
All right, so you're finding an important change that happened last year.
And so, you know, we are just finding that a lot of people are frustrated with their boards, and they just want to know what on earth can they do at this point in time, Chesley.
So I understand you found out last year, a change happened last year that has a lot of people frustrated that they still don't even know about. What's that?
Yeah, and I apologize, broke off from hearing you there, but I think I got the last part of your question. Right now, it says that a board cannot take away your voting rights over fines, okay? So we've got assessments and we've got fines. Most people who live in an HOA know if you get in trouble, you lose access to the community pool or the tennis courts. But now you can't lose access to your voting rights. And this is important, Chesley, because I have talked with homeowners that have tried to remove what they feel is a bad board, but they just can't, because every time the vote comes up, they get slapped with some kind of fine for parking or tall grass.
So you can still lose your voting rights if you don't pay your dues, though, right? If you don't pay, yeah. Okay.
Right, because like I said, you've got your dues. That's for some people, it might be a monthly assessment that they have to pay, especially if you're in a townhouse or a condo, or if you're in a homeowners association, that's usually an annual fee. So that's different. You can lose your voting rights if you don't pay those assessments. We're talking about fines. This protection only relates to those fines. But tonight at 11, we're going to show you how Georgia really allows for what I call messy math. That messy math makes it hard for some homeowners to figure out just what on earth they are being charged. And I speak with a woman in Nevada. She heads up a state office there that helps homeowners resolve these kinds of disputes with their HOA. She also says the way fines are calculated and communication is important. Take a look.
If I'm looking at what you all say the rules are, and then based off these rules, you're telling me it's something different, it's like, okay, we're following what I'm supposed to do, but you're telling me, no, you have to do it this way. And there's really no conversation.
What we're finding out is people don't actually actively listen. What they say is, I'm listening to you, I heard you, but did you really hear me? Did you really hear my concerns? So communication is the key, is the starting point to disputes happening.
And, you know, it was really interesting talking with Nevada and that ombudsman office, because that is one of the things that people here have pushed for. They're like, hey, if we just had an office that we could go to ask our questions, to really understand what are our rights, what's the HOA's rights, and where we're kind of finding that conflict in the middle, then maybe we could avoid costly court battles and things like that. But there aren't a lot of states that have those ombudsman ombudsman's offices. Hard word to say sometimes, but some people feel it's a really important entity that they wish we had here in Georgia.
Maybe the case because, a lot of people are moving here from other places, obviously. Myself didn't really understand what an HOA was about and had a couple violations myself. And so it's like, what? They control it? And so trying to figure all that out is very difficult, Rebecca.
It is, and so you can see, like, if you have that violation, a lot of times people, they take care of it right away. Sometimes they have questions. They don't really understand exactly what the HOA is asking of them, and so they're trying to get more information before they fix the problem. They want to make sure that if they're going to spend the money, that they fix it correctly.
Right.
And the challenge that we're finding in some communities is while they're trying to get that information, the property management company that's sort of helping out the HOA is actually tacking on fines and late fees. And so then even after they get the problem resolved, they don't realize that this debt is now on their ledger.
Wow.
And then they're even more confused. And then they even have more questions.
Right.
And so it kind of spirals, and it doesn't need to. And I think that that's the big push from people right now is a lot of the challenges and frustrations that people are having. They don't need to exist. They just need a way to kind of force both sides to communicate in a way that both of them can understand the rules and the responsibilities and move forward to keep these neighborhoods great.
All right, excellent story. We will be watching tonight as well, and thank you for being on this. We're going to follow up with you as well, okay? All right, you can watch that report right here on 11Alive Plus. Rebecca Lindstrom, thank you so much. All right, plenty more stories to come. Don't go anywhere. We're back right after this. All right, welcome back to the show. Today is going to be a very pleasant day. High pressure taking over our area. You can see where we had some clouds earlier this morning. Those clouds are now breaking up. And so we'll get the sunshine in for the rest of the afternoon. It's going to be a very nice day on tap. In fact, we're going to have the next couple of days nice. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will be nice as well. In fact, I think Wednesday will be the pick of the week as temperatures will be heating up to around 70 degrees. Got a front that's going to move through by Thursday, which will bring us about a 30% chance for an isolated shower or two. We're watching that because that may decrease on us, may even grow. Models are still going back and forth a little bit on how much and when that rain will move in. Friday will clear it out, but also cool down behind that front. Here's how things play out for us. You can see those clouds further moving out, getting out of the way. The rain stays down to the south of us. We'll be dry today, dry again tomorrow, starting you off with mostly sunny skies. And then there's a beautiful day on tap for you, 68 degrees for the high temperature. By the time we get to Wednesday, though, 72 for the high. You notice back off to the west of us, those clouds building in, that rain that's behind our little graphic there, the banner, that rain is set to move in here as we head into Thursday afternoon. That's the way it looks right now. And also we'll drop our temperature down just a little bit as well with the extra cloud cover that's going to move in. Temperatures on Friday will be back into the 50s. So we have to enjoy these next couple of days while we can with the sunshine and the warmer temperatures. Go ahead and wash the car. You got a couple days before the raindrops get to staining it again, okay? All right, let's look at your forecast. You know, yesterday marked 5 years to the day that AHMAUD Arbery was murdered in Brunswick. He was out for a run in 2020 when men chased him and fatally shot him. Gregory McMichaels, Travis McMichaels, and neighbor William Roddy Bryant were all convicted of murder in 2021. A judge sentenced them to life in prison. It was 3 years ago, this past Saturday, that a separate jury found them guilty of federal hate crimes for violating Arbery's civil rights and targeting him because he was black. All three are asking for a new trial. Here to take a look back and examine this case is former Fulton County Prosecutor Darrell Cohen. He is now the criminal defense attorney. Welcome to the take, Darrell.
Good morning. How are you? Nice to see you.
Well,
and nice to talk to you.
Nice to see you.
Happy Monday.
Nice to talk to you as well. Let's get started with your take on this case. It's still said that this is still unresolved. What's your take?
It's resolved. Whether or not on appeal anything is changed, that's a whole different story. Juries have resolved the case against the defendant. That's over and done. Unless there was really something serious in terms of a trial error by the judge or the judge who allowed the prosecution to put in something they should not have, it's over. So it's, Yogi Berra once said, it ain't over till it's over, it's over.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Now, let me apologize to our viewers. We can hear Darrell, but we can't see him. And you look great. I'm sure you do, Darrell, but we can hear you fine, okay? So let me ask you this. How much did this case, from a legal sense or a legal standpoint, call attention to race in our nation?
I think that it was the trigger that needed to be pulled, and matter if you're African American, Asian, Caucasian. It matters if you're a person, and it matters where you are, and when you are, and what the other side says. In other words, it was big, really big, and it made us a better nation because of it, at least in my view.
What other social ramifications did you see coming from these verdicts?
I see that the South, that has been known, whether it's correct or incorrect, as being somewhat more racist than the rest of the world or the rest of the country, has awakened and said, you know what? It's not about race. It's not about skin color. It's about people and about circumstance. That's what I think it's done. And I think it's been, out of every tragedy comes good. It depends on how much good. In my opinion, a lot of good has come of this horrible, horrible tragedy.
You know, another person who came into the spotlight in this case was former Glenn County DA Jackie Johnson. She was accused of abusing her power, trying to protect the men who chased Arbery down and killed him, but was acquitted. How much of a role does she play in this saga?
Well, I think all of this is troubling to me. It started being troubling when Ahmaud Arbery was murdered. It became more troubling as the defendants were not defendants until later. A retrial, excuse me, a rethought, a rethink made them defendants, and they became guilty. They became convicted. The DA was a low-hanging fruit type person. In my view, that never should have happened in terms of she never should have been indicted. But when people try to do the right thing, oftentimes they go too far the other way. And in this case, I think justice was done, but her reputation is tarnished or maybe even destroyed.
Wow. 5 years since this murder has happened, what lessons have we learned from this trial, would you say?
I learned that from this trial, and if we're talking the Ahmaud Arbery trial or the DA's trial, both of them said to me that the potential jurors, and in this case the jurors, as far as Ahmaud Arbery was concerned, did the right thing. They listened to the evidence, they followed the evidence, they followed the law, and they had a conviction. Now, as to the district attorney, the judge took it out of the jury's hands, so the jury had no choice but to do what they needed to do, which was be disbanded after the judge said, the evidence is not here.
All right. Darrell Cohen, really appreciate you being on the show. We always appreciate your insight. You know, we'll have you on the show again, I'm sure.
I apologize for my camera. I don't know what the heck happened.
Hey, well, you know you look good, though. We know you look good.
Well, I certainly got dressed for the occasion, I can tell you that.
Very good.
Take care, my friend. I'll see you soon.
Yep, we'll talk to you later. All right, folks, don't go anywhere. Back with my final take. You're watching The Take, and we're back right after this. All right, before we go to break, again, or before we end the show, my final take. Eggs continue to be a hot topic as the prices continue to rise. You know, stocking them up won't help. They only have a refrigerator lifespan of 3 to 5 weeks. That's it. So the U.S. is turning to turkey. Not the bird, but the country. The U.S. is looking to export more eggs from the country Turkey. Turkey plans to export 420 million eggs to the U.S. this year. That's the most ever. Although this will help in production loss, it will not put a dent in that price. So pretty soon we'll have to look to ducks, or maybe ostrich, or maybe goose. I don't know. A lot of you eat eggs. I don't. I feel your pain, but I don't think those prices are going to go anywhere anytime soon, folks. Just, you know, take your time, ration them out. Don't stock up. It's not going to help you. But at least more are coming. Don't go anywhere, folks. Have a great day. We'll see you back here tomorrow.